I'm Tamara Gibbs. I believe you guys should all know me, but just in case you don't, I have Heather here with us tonight, who, in case you guys don't know Heather, she is insane, literally insane about Young Living. She is a huge fireball right now. And no, she is not new to Young Living. I know that's usually the question I've been getting lately on, well, she must be new if she's selling 60 kits in 1 month. 60, you guys. That's a 6 and a 0. 60 kits in 1 month. So no, she's not new to Young Living. She just has found this amazing, amazing fire under her. She does love incentives. She is a gigantic red. So if you challenge her with something, she is absolutely game for it. I wish we had known that sooner. We could have probably had her royal crown by now with the momentum she does. But she is a mother of 4. She runs literally her own farm, which did not start out as a farm. It started out as just wanting a few chickens and snowballed at this point. But she has chickens and turkeys and cows or a cow, a really cute cow. And she is just been lit on fire with some new motivation, a new mindset. She has a book she read that really just spoke to her, and she's going to tell you all about it. But for you guys that don't know, this is not somebody that just all of a sudden joined and has unlimited resources of people because this is something new to her and new to them. That is not the case. Heather has been doing this for a few years. She is amazing. But again, she's found this new fire and a way to hone in on it. So I really want you guys to all take that to heart when she's talking and realize that anybody can do this, but it does take truly, truly the hard work that she has put in. So without further ado, everybody, Heather Huffman, please.
I'm trying to make you cry. All right. So hi, I'm Heather. In case we've never met or ever talked, I'm gonna dive right in and tell you. I wrote tons of notes here on what I've been doing. Just so you know, I'm not an expert. I just changed what I was doing because what I was doing wasn't working. I wrote numbers and list them, and number 1, I put relationships. Obviously, you guys probably know with Young Living, you have to build relationships, and it's more than just talking about Young Living or, even talking about anything about Young Living. I have talked to more people, and I've been commenting on people's Facebooks more. I mean, rather it be a post or, a picture or whatever, I make sure that I go through it and I'm commenting and I'm involved and, on a personal level, more than, like I said, than just business. And being real, I wrote number 2 as being real and being personal, which I just said. Like I said, just commenting more and being involved more and creating those relationships with other people. Number 2, and I'm literally going to do that every time. I'm going to go in order and tell you the number. And I've never done this before, so just bear with me. Number 2, be nice to everyone. I know that sounds, okay, well, why wouldn't you be nice? But I'm being so serious, everything you do in life. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. 2 days ago, I got a phone call and it was this lady and she sounded so upset. And I'm like, okay. And we had ordered a barn and she's like, hey, your barn's going to be delivered on Friday, but I can't give you a time because the last guy was completely rude to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, girl, you're fine. I'm like, we're going to be home all day. Sorry, I'm keep getting messages and it's blocking me. I'm like, we're going to be home all day. And I literally said to her, I said, let it go. I don't even know this lady. I'm like, whatever that guy said to you had nothing to do with you. He was having a bad day and he took it out on you. Let it go. Don't let people bring you down. And if they're trying, use it as fire and, and become above it. I believe that that's extremely important and just staying positive and, that mindset. So that being said, number 3, share the business. Don't be afraid, okay? I got to remember not to touch my phone because you guys can't see my messages that are coming up. Share the business, write about it, talk about it, go live with it. Don't be afraid of being too salesy or, they're going to get sick of me talking about it or, they're going to get sick of me posting. I don't care. I know that sounds awful, but if you get sick of it, then just block me or not block me, but delete me, whatever, because this is who I am and I'm so passionate about it and I love it. And if you can't see that that is just something I love, then, they're not meant to be that part of your life. But share it, talk about it, love it. And don't have those thoughts in the back of your mind. Like, what if this person is like sick of it? Or what if this person thinks this? It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're sharing something that you love and that you don't, you're not letting anybody stop you from sharing that. So number 4, okay, this is my favorite, okay? It is not, okay, so Tamara said I love incentives. Honestly, I started this month out with incentives, but I just started doing $25 back on the kit, and it seemed to really, really work. Or whatever, $25, offer back or whatever. Or you could do it as a credit, whatever you decide to do. But that's what I was doing. And what I want to say is, it is not about what you give. It is about how you give it, okay? So if I'm going to give a 5 ml lime, okay, it's like 5.75, whatever, okay, and then you just post a post and you're like, free lime if you buy a kit, and you leave it at that, probably not going to get any, any reaction. But if you go live and you're like, oh my gosh, I have this bottle of lime, you're not going to believe how many things you can do with this. I make fresh salsa every day or whatever, like I really do. I love fresh salsa and I put my lime in it. Or, like it smells amazing in the diffuser and, and so forth. People are attracted to your energy, okay? They want happy. They want to be surrounded by that. And if that's what you're bringing, that's what you're going to attract, okay? So again, I don't care if you're giving $25 credit off or a $5 line. It is about how you're going to give it, okay? So, okay, remember that this is just what I do and this is what's been working. I'm not trying to tell you how to run your business. This is just how I run mine. So number 5, when I first started, I would say April 28th, Jamie Lynn started a giveaway for our team, our personal team, the Dropaholics. And she said, if you enroll 20 people this month, I will buy you an Aria diffuser, okay? I was so mad at her. I called her up and I'm like, Jamie, this is impossible. Like, nobody's going to be able to do this. And then on, like I said, it was like April 28th or whatever. I was like, I'm going to do this just so she has to buy it. But anyways, so on that day, I sat down and I wrote a list. This was the first thing I did. I wrote a list of probably 30 something people. Okay. I privately messaged those 30 something people or sent a voice recording or said, hey, call me. We got to talk, whatever, and just to give you an idea, my messages would include something like, holy crap, you are not going to believe this kit that Young Living just launched or whatever. Cause we had the welcome home kit at the time was fairly new. And I had not really shared that actually until then. But anyways, so I had the list and as people, so I wrote them all messages, sent them out. And as people were buying, I would cross off the name, right? So I have these 30 people, whatever. As I crossed off names, I added new names. So I always had a list of 30 people no matter what. And when I say names, I'm saying if I just went live and people are commenting like crazy, or, you know, someone liked an oily post, or someone messaged me privately about oils, or even if it was a year ago and they were like, hey, I am really interested in that. I wrote their name down. Okay. Yes. Lists are so important because that's where you're working from, you know, your prospects, I believe would be what we would use. So I do believe that that is huge. Okay. Number 6, sharing with your voice. Okay. If you could send a voice message, and I don't mean like call and leave a voice message, I mean like on you're on Facebook and you can leave a voice recording. Oh, I'm gonna get some water. Then I think that that's huge. They need to hear your voice. They need to hear how excited you are. They need to hear, you know, that your list only had 30 people. Yes, my list started with 30 people, but as they spot kits, I'd cross off and I would add another. So I literally always had 30 people. But oh my gosh, where was I at? Oh yeah, share with your voice. So what I mean is send in voice recordings. If you could do a video chat, or you can go live on Facebook, all of this is getting you heard, okay? Versus just sending a quick text. Yes, I still sent messages. Yes, I, you know, text messages or messages on Facebook. But if I had the option to let them hear me first, that's what I would go with. All right, let's see. Encouraging others outside of your, guys, I'm not seeing your messages, I'm sorry. I'll finish and then I'll answer questions.
Yeah, Heather, don't
encouraging
worry.
others outside of.
Oh, I was just saying, we'll come back to the messages in the thread. So don't worry, because I know it's throwing you off a little.
I know, I keep looking. So encouraging others outside of anyone that would benefit like your business. I'm saying I am in the executive to silver group, and I reached out to 2 ladies that were shooting for silver. No idea who they are, but I reached out to them and I said, hey, we're both shooting for the same goal. How great would it be if we could privately message each other and, you know, root each other on and cheer each other on? It was so great because the 3 of us like hit silver right around the same time, and we were messaging each other like, oh my gosh, like we did it. And I think that that's huge, to encourage others and be encouraged, if that makes sense. Let's see. So I have mindset. Okay, don't say so and so wouldn't be interested or can't afford it. My example is, sorry, I have a lady that comes and cleans my house because I have 4 kids and I freaking love her. And I was on the phone with my girlfriend Sarah one day, and she had just bought our kit and we were talking about the products and all that. And she goes, oh, and then I had mentioned my pigs got out of their cage and my cleaning lady was here. And I was like, yeah, she helped me tackle them and get them back in. And she's like, does your cleaning lady buy Young Living? Does she use Young Living? And I'm like, well, like she uses my products while she's here, but I haven't like signed her up or anything, which is crazy. Like you would have thought I had her like right away. No, I'm just kidding. I said, this is what I said. I said, well, she's like a single mom, you know, I don't know if she would really want to buy that. I'm not kidding. 10 minutes later, she texted me and was like, hey, do you still have that Thieves kit on hand? And bought her kit. So I'm just saying, like, don't ever, you know, put in your mind that someone wouldn't be interested, or, you know, she can't afford it, or she wouldn't like Young Living, you know, whatever. You just don't even put it out there. Put anybody's name on that list and message them, because you're going to be shocked. You know, yes, excuses for others, absolutely. You're going to be shocked, like, who is actually going to be interested. I learned that huge this month, like who bought their kit, and people you would have never thought of. Honestly, the last thing that I have on my list is posting personal post, you know, about your life and business both, okay? And going live. I went live 26 days, I want to say, give or take. I could be off a day or so. This month, like I tried to go live every single day. And I think it made a huge impact. I didn't always talk about Young Living or the business or the products. I mean, I went live about my farm. I went live about that one day about the barn when that lady was like all upset. I went live and was like, you guys, just be nice and just do something nice for someone today, you know? So I think being personal is huge. And like I said, getting your voice heard and, you know, getting it out there. But that's my list. And I said in like, you know, 2.2 seconds. So if you guys have absolutely any questions, let me know. See if I can go to the chat.
Okay, so just to recap for you guys, there were 9 things total in case you popped on here a little bit later, in case like you now are thinking of questions for Heather that you want like to ask or have answered. We'll take questions both from the chat itself and we'll scroll back to those. And then also if you want to like unmute yourself, raise your hand, that kind of stuff, we'll take questions too. But to recap, her number one thing she said was relationships. They are like muy importante for establishing a relationship. You want that oily relationship and that like friendship relationship, okay? Number 2 was be nice to everybody. You see those shirts all the time that say like kill them with kindness or kindness is free or, you know, kind of all of those. Be kind, right? So just be nice to everybody. We don't know what's going on in other people's lives. We don't know if they've had literally the worst day of their life that day or if they've had the best day type idea. So yes, just be kind. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all, right? Isn't that like the golden rule? Number 3 was share the business. This one hits home so hard for me because Heather and I have even talked about it. She asked when starting the business, what my biggest regret was, or like, what would I have done differently and that kind of stuff. And my 2 answers I gave her were that I would have shared the business a lot more. Like I would have shared. I didn't share the business. I shared the oil part, but people didn't even know I was like making money off of it. They just thought it was something I liked, right? And then the second one I said was that I would be more organized with follow-up because I felt like I was lost. But number 4 was how you present it. And this is the one thing I really, really, really wanted Heather to zone in on tonight. So if you guys even want her to talk more about it or you want her to ask questions specifically, this girl is a fire plug when it comes to presenting. Like if you guys didn't notice, she is just excited all the time, like excited. I am excited to bake guacamole for my lime and I am excited to do this and I'm excited to do that. But she doesn't say I'm excited. It's like portrayed in the way that she presents the stuff. Like she presents the product or she presents, even in her writing, you can tell. Now, granted, live, it comes through like crazy, right? But even in her writing, you can tell she is giving you that excitement. Like, you have to buy this right now because I wrote these words and I didn't say buy this now, but I gave you just 10 reasons why you should without telling you specific by me, right? Like, so it's those little nuances that she has kind of capitalized on. But again, that's why it's part of her skills of how you present it, right? She said, you can offer a $5 bottle of lime or you can offer $25. But if you literally just say, hey, I'm offering a free lime, you're probably not going to get that many people. But if you literally are explaining to them, you can use it for this and this and this and this and this and this, you might hit that trigger for somebody that's what gets them to buy because they go, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with margaritas since we've been under, quarantine and I am now an alcoholic. I need lime oil, right? I mean, let's hope that's not the case for anybody. But you know what I'm saying? Like the way it's presented is really big for her. So that was number 4. Number 5 she had was making your prospect list. And this did come up in the chat. So I'm going to have her talk a little bit more about this. But they were saying that your list only had 30 people, and that they often find making a list of like 100 or things like that that have been talked about in other groups can be very overwhelming. So Heather will talk a little bit again about that, because her list always had 30, which you heard her say that. It wasn't like I just made 30 and once those 30 were gone, I was like, whoop, there goes my month, right? So Heather, talk a tiny bit more about that again.
So the reason why I answered is I do believe it's overwhelming. You wouldn't even really know where to begin, because who wants to send out 100 messages at one time? Okay, I started with 30 because sending 30 messages, you know, took me probably a half hour, whatever. And I didn't feel like, I don't really know how I would explain that, but I just feel like 30 is controllable, and I could relate more, I think, on a personal, like, okay, I only have 30 people, it's fine. I can message them, you know, and we could sit there and have conversations, because these people aren't just like, yes, I want this. It's not like that at all, and I'm sure you guys understand that. It's more like, okay, I'm going to start with 30 people. I'm going to form these relationships in less than 7 days. Like, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this quick, but we're going to do it. So we're going to talk the next few days. Oh my gosh, I loved your dress you wore last Tuesday. And oh my gosh, your dog is so cute. You know, like, it's not like, holy crap, you have to buy this right now. You know, you form that. And then you're like, holy crap, did you see the Young Living kit that they just, you know, came out with? Or, oh my gosh, they're giving a free lemon hand soap this month. And this hand soap is the best. It smells so good. So I just feel like starting with 30 and send out your messages, form those relationships. And then, like I said, I mean, you know, the first day, I don't want to sound crazy, but they were dropping like flies. And I would just add another name, you know, and then I would message that person, and I'd be like, hey, like, oh my gosh, you know, a girl that I used to hang out with, used to work out every day. I haven't talked to her in 8 years. And she just, you know, I messaged her and was like, oh my gosh, I haven't heard from you in forever. And, oh, you know, like, you know, and then it's really weird, is in my memory, it came up and of us working out and whatever. And then I formed that relationship again. And then she commented on one of the oily posts, and I messaged her and was like, holy crap, this kit is only this much. And then go back to the room. And anyways, and I'm like, and I have it on hand, you know, so forth. That's why I stick with 30. It just seems more controllable when forming relationships.
Now, if you guys are even hearing that number 30 and you're just like, holy cow, if I messaged 30 people, even if 5 started responding, and then I had to message more and message more and message more, and that feels overwhelming to you, then you know what? Go with 5 or go with 10, go with 15. But you know what? Just do something, right? Like, just start. So if you're starting 5, then you know what? Make a list of 5 and start there. But just start is kind of the key, right?
Yes, and you're going to put the work in, you know, it's not going to just happen. I sat here and I don't want to overwhelm you or scare you, but it's the truth. I sat here for 15-hour days for weeks, and my husband would come up and it'd be like 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, whatever. And he'd be like, again? And I'm like, yes, every day. Okay. Until I reach my goals.
Well, and her biggest thing too, which she said briefly, but one of the biggest things she was doing this month with this stuff, you guys, is that she was voice messaging through Facebook whenever she could, like whenever it was appropriate for either the person she was messaging or for the content she was talking about. She would voice message, because that way people really did hear her. And then on top of that, she made sure, not to use the word stalking, but in a sense, like those people that were on her list of 30, she literally went in and was like, stalking their Facebook pages or looking on Instagram or those kind of things, to be like, okay, what can I strike up a conversation with them about besides oils? What can I message them about? And like she said, you know, hey, I love that dress you wore last Tuesday in your post, or whatever, where'd you get it? How can I get one? Or that friend that was working out came up in her memories. So she was like, oh, here, this is perfect. And then they strike up conversations that way. So again, one of her things, which I think is all the way at the end, but one of her things was about, you know, them hearing your voice with things. And so she did try to do voice messages whenever possible. And I know I personally like never do that. And I thought about, well, that actually is such a good idea, because then to me, if someone sends me a voice message, it usually indicates to me that it's okay to send them one back. And the truth is, when that happens, how often do we have the time, because we are in the middle of cooking dinner, or we're driving in the car, or we're doing something else at that moment, where actually typing out a response would be a lot more difficult. I see several of you driving in the car right now, right? But you could do a voice message to people. And on Facebook, the voice messages are only allowed to be 1 minute long per message, right? So it's not like, unless you do 15 messages, it's not like you're going to drone on forever and ever. It's going to be something that's quick and easy for them to listen to, and then feel that connection with you, or feel the easy way to respond. So hopefully that helps with, you were going to say something. Go, Heather.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I feel like I said, I can hear your excitement, and I do this to people I don't know. You would be surprised. Also, I didn't mention was adding new friends on Facebook. I know that sounds scary, but I've had people that I don't know from Iowa and Maine and Georgia, Indiana this month, who enrolled in under me and came to me. But anyways, so if they sent me a message, I would just send her a voice recording, be like, hey girl, like, as if you're best friends, you know, just so they could hear, like, oh, like, I could get to know her on a different level, you know, versus just buying something, you know. I hope that makes sense.
No, it definitely does. Anybody that's been on the KK calls, this two that we've had, you guys all would agree with me, right? That you feel like she's your best friend. Like, she doesn't know who you are, right? She can't see you through the screen, but the way she talks and how she like interacts, you would think that I'm going to meet this girl in person and she's going to be my best friend. And I know it. Like, there's no way we're not going to be best friends, right? Because she just has that energy and the way she talks to people. And so Heather has a lot of that too. But again, she said they get it because they hear her voice and they hear the excitement. Even when she writes much more familiar. Like she said, as one of her points, to make sure, number 6, that you share your voice with people. Make sure it's you. Make sure it is you writing this or you speaking this. And I know a lot of us borrow posts from people because, I mean, the truth is, like, we should work smarter, not harder, right? If there's a post and it's something you want to say anyways, but go through and make sure that sounds like you. Like, if you don't say girlfriend or like dude or everybody, or if you don't put 17 exclamation points after everything like I do, then you know what? You might want to edit so that it sounds like your voice. And the same thing needs to be done when you are talking, either voice message wise or when you're sending text messages to people. Make sure it sounds like you would speak to that person if you know them. You know, if you don't know them, then make sure that it's also not the message you just sent to your best friend and that it possibly has like something inappropriate or whatever it may be, right? So just adjust your voice so that they can hear you and they can feel like they now have that relationship with you.
I want to say, Tamara, I also found by doing so, by sending the voice messages, that people who are purchasing their kit or signing up are less confused. I know that sounds crazy, but sometimes I get so excited that, oh my gosh, this person wants to sign up with me, blah, blah, blah. And you get going with your fingers, and I almost sometimes talk in circles. And then I almost tell too much, like, oh my gosh, and then we have this ER program, and blah, 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 you know, and they're like, whoa, you know, like, just calm down a little. So I found with the voice message, I could be a little, I guess, more relaxed, and, you know, we could send each other voice messages, and they get to understand it better.
Well, I think a big thing too that we always talk about is you can't judge inflection from a text, right? You can't judge how somebody is reacting. Somebody could be reacting to a text that you send in an extremely positive way, but possibly what they write back to you, you're then like, oh, well, what happened there? Why are they being so negative? And that wasn't their intention, right? Well, your voice, you can clearly tell, are you happy? Are you excited? Are you upset? Is this frustrating for you? Whatever it may be. And so voice messages also give that insight to new people also, where they can be like, hey, I'm kind of just not getting this. Can you help me? But you can hear that from them, and then they can hear it from you. So those are all good to have. But okay, so we left off on number 4. We kind of went definitely, or I mean number 5, I'm sorry. We went definitely into the prospect things. But I wanted you guys to understand though too, like Heather did say, she has had some 15-hour days where she has been in that chair, and that's been the thing. But you know what? She is being rewarded in a huge way for the hard work she is putting in. But that doesn't mean that you can just put in one 15-hour day and then the rest of the month it's just going to be like, woo, okay, awesome, like I'm done. Because her goals were not met by that, if that makes sense. And maybe for you individually, if you sold, 5 kits in a day and your goal was 5 kits for the month, some of you guys might go ahead and say, yes, I met my goal, I'm done, peace out for like the rest of the month. Well, Heather in turn just took it as a new challenge, right? She met her goal before the 10th of the month. And so she was like, well, let's have another goal, and let's have another goal. And she has met that goal 3 times now this month, because her goal was 20. She's now at 60. But she didn't peace out and say, okay, well, I'm done. I don't need to put in the effort anymore. So I do want her to explain a little bit on that, because I know people kind of take that back seat, which I know that's kind of hard to say, but they take that like back seat. Like once they've got what they were going for, they don't then reevaluate and try to do it again. They just kind of say like, oh, well, that didn't work, so I'm done trying. Or this wasn't what I wanted as the result, and so that obviously isn't what I'm going to do again. Like that's not the case. There's been months where Heather has sold 4 kits. There's been months where she's sold, very few kits. There's been months where she's sold a lot of kits. So it's that constantly like reevaluating yourself and redefining, and then continuing to move forward and realizing that possibly what didn't work last month doesn't mean it's not going to work this month. It doesn't mean that there's not a new audience with new people and new stuff. Clearly COVID changed a ton of that, right? I mean, whoever thought our kids would be doing like Zoom calls and school at home and all these things, and that all the moms in the world would need like gallons of stress away, right? So Heather, go ahead and just talk a little bit about that and how you were able to stay motivated. Because I know there were a few times, obviously, that you were,
Yeah. I would say this month when I hit silver, I did take a couple days, and then I was like, wait, no, I need to plan next month, and I need to start, what I want to do this month coming, because I want to maintain. But I will say, when I was doing Dream 1000, okay, this is why I didn't take a back seat this time. I hit Dream 1000 hard. I was below 100 people out of whatever 81,000 people the entire time. And then it was like, we had 2 weeks left. And I reached like 180th, and remember it was like what, chap 250 went to Hawaii. That's what I was shooting for. And then I looked up Hawaii, the flight. I don't like to fly. Like I just got little butterflies thinking about it. And it was like 24 hours from where I am. And I was like, I'll go with a year's worth in Inksha. Like I am game for that. So I kind of stepped back because I let my fears hold me back. I will totally take responsibility for that. But I ended up finishing off, it was like 281. And again, I mean, it was probably like 2 kit sales, but I was okay with that. But anyways, after that, because I let my fears win, it really hurt me. And I stepped back for 7 months. I was an executive at like 8,000 OGD or whatever back April last year, and literally stepped back and was like, almost like, I don't want to say gave up because that's hard, but I was, because I let my fears win. And this time I was like, no, I'm not ever giving up. I will remember Dream 1000 forever and how I let my fears win. And maybe for someone else, that's what they can do. They can remember a time in their lives where they were like, what if I would have just kept pushing? What if I would have not let my fears win? And I went on that Hawaii trip and I hit Silver April last year and I met all those amazing new people and, did the 20 and 30 with Eric Worre. Thank you, Jamie, for, doing what he did. But, I'm just saying, you want to remember what's holding you back. And the thing is if we continue to do what we're doing and we're not getting anywhere, then we're going to continue not to get anywhere. So I think that's really what helped me this time was I just, sorry, I'm reading messages and throwing me off. I remember Dream 1000 and it keeps me moving forward.
So, we touched on number 6 also with like your voice, and then the encouraging other part was number 7. And, I have noticed a huge shift in the way that Heather does this now versus how she was doing it before. And so I just, like, my personal observation is, like she said, she has now friended like other young living people that she doesn't even know, but she can get encouragement from them crossline and they are giving it back to her. There was a lot of like, I think Heather's comfort zone of staying within the Dropaholics and within her teen bubble for
Absolutely.
a really long time and not fully embracing or understanding that like cross-line relationships as a whole are huge. But the one thing that Heather has balanced really well, and I will touch on this because this is part of the questions in the comment section, is that she has balanced really well in understanding though that those relationships are huge, but that is not where her paycheck is coming from. And so in her balance of her day, if we can even say balance, because I don't know that any of us truly have it, right? But in our balance of her day, she understands that the priority is those customers. The priority is those messages getting out to them, the follow-up, the delivering kits to people's houses or whatever needs to be done, everything else. And then the encouraging part comes from when she feels like she needs a little extra fuel to her fire, then she can go and encourage others, and in turn it's reciprocated. But yes, I know that that's been a big part where she has acknowledged that, like, before that might have been flipped a little bit. You know, she was comfortable in her bubble and she was comfortable talking with her oil people, but sometimes that would consume more of her day than the flip side of being consumed by the customers and the new relationships she's establishing. So with that, it did say, do you plan to follow up with all these kit sales and keep people on ER to maintain silver? So the answer is obviously yes, but.
Yes. So what I did is I printed off everyone that purchased their kit. this month. And I actually I'm going to send out, cards and welcome them, personally written. I actually am, going to get those out soon, being the new month is to come. I am going to privately also message them all and remind them about their ER, and, don't forget, da, da, da. And I'm going to tell them all about the new promos that are coming. I will continue to do this until they feel comfortable enough in their, oily world, and they start reaching out other than just me. Because let's face it, when you first begin, you have no idea where to go. So it is nice to have someone to say, yes, you could do this or that, whatever, to guide them. I will follow up as many times as I need. I'm not going to give up, and I will come back here and talk to you guys in 1 month from today and let you know how that went.
Yeah. So she also did, and this is not, let me put this very clear. This is not an endorsement to go start your own group. It is absolutely not. But Heather and I talked as she was progressing in these massive number of kit sales, and decided that together we would start a very, very temporary group for her to put all these people in. It is a group that is specific only for these kit sales. It is also only to talk about the kits themselves. If they need recipes about other stuff, or they have questions about other oils and all that kind of stuff, then that's when Heather is referring them to her team group. That's when she's referring them to Dropaholics or Oiler Society or whatever the other groups are. This is something that is literally just to get them the information about their new kit that they have received. And it is also to give them information on, okay, your ER order is going to be coming up. This is how you change the items in your cart. This is how you update your cart with new items. This is how you know what the monthly promos are for the month. It's those kind of things, and it is not a permanent group. It is something that, when started, we even put it out there. We said, okay, this is going to be your home for the next 60 days. I mean, that was it. We're like, here you go. You can be in here. But we're also putting you in these other groups because those are going to be the groups that you want to ask all the questions. This is more just you're brand new and here's the information. And again, the only reason we did that was because, you guys, she's at 60 kit sales. Like, if all 60 people are private messaging her asking the same question about, well, what do I now use my lemon oil for? Versus they can go to a group and they can ask it. So we did go ahead and do that. And then the other thing that she has already put in place is that she did set them up for project broadcast also, because that is a big thing that, even though she is on Facebook with these people and Messenger and everything else, that is something that was easy to set up, like a new kit class, for the people, where they could opt in and they can receive the text and those things for, the kit that they have purchased. So there's like a specific welcome home one versus an oil one, and those things have been helpful too. Heather, do you have anything to add to that part?
Well, I was going to say is, in the past, I really failed at adding my new members to other groups. Obviously, they're in Dropaholics. Normally, people that were purchasing the kits were already in Dropaholics. So I did this time. I did add them, to three other, like Grow and, so forth. I do feel like that was huge. I had a lot of feedback on that from people who purchased their kits, like, hey, and they talked about other groups. The other thing I wanted to add, I wrote added, before I forget, was I did write down, this has nothing to do with what we were just talking about, but I didn't want to forget to say it. I wrote down my goals, short-term and long-term, and I do think it's huge to see it on paper. And I mean, like, I would be like, okay, I want to be at, 5,000 OGV by May 18th or whatever. And I mean, literally, just to give you an idea, like, these are my notes, you guys. Like, it's ridiculous. I have like 32 pages, and I do think it's completely unorganized. Tamara knows. But I do think it's big, and I think that you should. I think you should go right down. I know they say it's like a dream board, but even if it's just a scratch paper and it's notes, like I think on the back of all of these notes, they say somewhere, I will be silver in May 2020. Or, my husband will hit, because my husband hit executive. And, so I had all these goals, and I think it's important to have short-term and long-term and to see them and say them out loud.
Also, Jamie had posted in the comment about making sure you share your goals with your spouse. Also, I think that that's vitally important when you are going hard for something and you are striving and you want to achieve it, because if you need their added support for helping out with the kids, or even just giving you encouraging words and really being there for you, how
Sure.
are they supposed to be there for you if they don't even know what you're working so hard towards? So definitely, I think that that was a huge point that Jamie made, and make sure that you do share those goals. And you know what, if your kids are old enough to understand it too, then you know what, share your goals with your kids too, because the crazy thing is that, like, if my kids know that I'm working hard towards something, it's almost, and again, it's not always, but it's almost like they're more understanding when I can't do XYZ, or they're a little less like annoying with things when they know, and they'll say, oh, mommy's working on that for the next hour, or mommy's working really hard to do XYZ. And they seem to get it and understand it a lot more. And in turn, I feel like they're a little better behaved during that time when needed. So
It's a lot. Say.
Yeah. Oh, Larissa brought up a dream board. Do you have a dream board? Did you make one? I know some people, especially being really visual, sometimes that helps them.
So I am a huge visual person, but I don't actually have like a board that says this or that. I mean, I've made them in the past, but this month, I am not kidding when I say I literally just wrote, I'm like reading my notes, like I will hit silver by May 28th, 2020. I wrote things like I will hit silver with ease and not have to crunch. I will, and like bring it back, like talking about the spouse, okay? Because I brought him in and we were talking about, and he knew what I was doing, and obviously like he built and grew his business, and we did it together. But like I've watched him talk more about Young Living this month than I've ever seen. I mean, one of his friends bought a CBD kit, and and so forth. So it's really fun watching your spouse fall in love with what you already love,
Yeah, it's hard to get them to do that if you don't involve them in, like, they're gonna be or get caught up most of the time in your enthusiasm too. If you're really rocking it and you're so excited about the stuff, it's easy for them to kind of catch on also. Somebody had brought up, do you go live on your page or do you do stories? And then also, do you use Instagram at all, or is it mostly just Facebook?
So I don't do Instagram. I can't figure it out, and I suck at it. I guess I do a few stories, nothing live in my stories on Facebook. I literally just go live every day in my Facebook, my personal Facebook. And like I said, it does not have to be about Young Living. When our pigs arrived, I went live. I'm trying to give you ideas. But anyways, I would say 80-20, 80% of it would be Young Living. Or I would come live with a different topic, but I would bring up Young Living, because it's in my blood and I want to talk about it all the time. So I can't not talk about it. But anyways, no Instagram. I think I went on Instagram twice this whole month. And it was probably because Jamie Lynn loves it and I watch her lives. But as far as stories on my Facebook, I mean, I add pictures and, what are they called? Like the little graphic things where you can add like fireworks and, you know, whatever in my stories, but no lives on my stories. No.
Okay, so that is great for all those to hear, especially me, because I also completely, Instagram is just a whole different ball of wax. And some people have been claiming that, oh, you can quote unquote only be successful now in this business if you're on Instagram all the time and you're sharing on Instagram all the time and you're meeting all these new people on Instagram and everything else. And you know what? For some people, that may be the case. But I mean, again, just to point out, Heather is not new to this business and doing this on Facebook still. So if your comfort zone, which again, I know we always say get out of your comfort zone in order to grow, but at the same time, if your comfort zone is Facebook, then you know what? Just do it on Facebook. Just make sure that you are doing the work, right? Don't just talk about the work, do the work, right? Make sure that you are getting the actual action needed to achieve the result that you want. So we also had on here that it says, if you're, does anyone have a step-by-step method? And this is kind of a generic question, not just for Heather, but it's, does anyone have a step-by-step method to simplify for people when they are brand new and it comes to changing their orders? Because she had a customer that was incredibly frustrated and didn't understand the screenshot she was trying to walk her through. And I know that happens. And that's kind of, I think, how Heather was saying that this is where voice messages could possibly come in really handy. Or what do you think, Heather?
I was actually going to say what I did. You said something about screenshots, though. Is I take a screenshot and I will circle exactly where to go, and I write number one. Then I would take another screenshot, and I actually saved those so that I can resend them out. Other than that, you could video chat and show them exactly what to do. And or you could just record yourself doing it and send her the video. I mean, I don't know.
I have actually done the video chats with people. I have FaceTimed them and just flat out been like, okay, here's my screen. Let me see your screen, and then kind of walk them through. Now, not all people have time for that. And so like Heather said, I've done the screenshot idea, but done the same thing. I literally number it and I put like number one and circle, which you guys have seen in Euler Society. I do that all the time with posts. I'm like, number one, circle here. And then I'm like two, and then three, so that each one is like exactly what they should be looking at. And a lot of times I make sure that when I do number them, then I can tell them specifically, like, okay, you should have clicked your mouse 7 times, you know, so that way they, I mean, it's true. It's like, sometimes that's what they need to know. Like, okay, did I do each step? And then the answer is yes. And then they're good. But I think a lot of that depends on the individual person. Some people are better tech savvy. Some are better not, you know, online, and they're better in person. So maybe make adjustments depending on who it is. And sorry that the person got mad at you. Are there any more questions? Did anyone want to take themselves off mute? I think I got all the ones from the chat. If I accidentally missed one, please let me know. That was, we kind of finished on number 7, where we were talking about the encouraging other one. Her number 8 was mindset. And then number 9 was about posting. So we did kind of skip over number 8. And I do want Heather to talk about a book that has like changed her life. And so not to say that it's for everybody, but this was something that really made an impact to her. So Heather, talk about that book real fast.
Book is totally in my car because I carry it with me everywhere. And I honestly, the only thing I can say is you have to buy it. It's really, really low cost. I think I paid $8 on Amazon. I will have to post a picture because I always just say the mindset book, but there's actually more to it than the actual That is in the title, but there's more to it than that. All I can say is I'm not kidding. Having this book gave me the faith, gave me the mindset. I have found myself like correcting my children when they are like, oh, I can't, or, oh, like sometimes you get frustrated, like, I'm so stupid, or, you know what I mean? I hate to say that, but sometimes that comes out. And I'm like, no, you're not. And it's the book 100%. Or same with writing down, hey, I will hit this at this time. Because of this book, I believed it. When I wrote this down, I knew I was going to hit silver. I knew that I would get it. You have to tell yourself that you are worthy and that you deserve it, and you're going to do it, and you're going to put the work in. And God, I'm sorry if you're not religious, but I am, and God is going to send you everything you need step by step to make it happen. And this book did that for me so much so. Like I said, I'm awful and I'm just organized, and I will send a picture of the book because it's in my car.
Well, and if I had my phone, which I had to put in the other room, I'd be able to look it up too, because we have it written down, but I don't have a phone right now. So we will make sure that we get that posted for you guys, either in the comments in the group or whatever it may be. But mindset made a huge difference in Heather, in the sense she, like she mentioned, she stopped making those excuses for other people and allowed them the opportunity to say yes, which I know is huge for most of us. Like Jenny and I talk all the time about the coffee scenario where there's like the waitress and you're in the restaurant and you're in a big group, and in that group the waitress walks up to the table and the waitress offers everybody at the table something to drink, right? She doesn't sit there and say in her head, oh, that guy doesn't look thirsty at all, and that one definitely probably doesn't want coffee just because they don't look like they like caffeine. So I'm only going to offer them water, but I'm going to offer these two over here who look like they like soda. I might offer them some soda, right? The waitress is going to offer everybody something to drink, or she's going to offer everybody water or everybody coffee. She's not going to make that judgment. She's going to allow them to make that. So with oils, it's the same idea, is that we so frequently, and my sunburn is showing up more and more as this call goes on, but total squirrel moment. So with oils, we so frequently make that decision for other people. Like we say, oh, well, I know they wouldn't be interested because, they're not really into natural things. Or I know they wouldn't be interested because, they just don't have the money. Or I tried offering it to them one time and they just weren't excited about it. So I know they wouldn't be interested again. I don't want to offer them to my kid's teacher because, she already asked for Clorox wipes. So why would she want mine? These are things that we will just say. I mean, I do it all the time. There's certain people that I'm just like, occasionally Kevin will ask me and he'll be like, well, have you ever asked so-and-so if they want oils or whatever? And I'm like, oh no, they blah, blah, blah. And then I realize I'm doing it. I'm literally making the excuse, which by doing that and making the excuse and decision for them, I have now completely taken the opportunity out of their hands. And essentially that means I took money out of their hands too, because there is always that chance that they could want to do the business. And now I've just taken that money away from them all. So Heather, anything you want to add to that?
With my, well, I was just going to say, like I mentioned how Candace, my lady who cleans my house, I think what got her thinking about it was she was here and she was finishing up and she had mentioned something about hair loss or whatever, and her hair's falling out, whatever. And I was like, oh, you need this and this, like you need to put this in your shampoo. I'm like, well, your shampoo you're using is probably not good, but, and I totally said that to her. I was like, But you could totally add these oils, and then, one day when you want to try other shampoos, whatever. Anyways, that part was really hard for me as a hairstylist because I'm a licensed hairstylist. So to like know other products are not good and they should be using these. Anyways, I think that's what put the seed in her head. Like, I'm talking freely about Young Living and not even realizing it. And then so it wasn't even the cleaners that necessarily got her. But anyways, it just made me think about it.
Yeah, our cleaning lady, same thing. She had been using like Thieves cleaner at our house. It was the only thing she was using and everything else. And months and months. And I was like, why would she not want to be using this at her other clients' houses and her other stuff? And so, but I hadn't even ever asked her. And then sure enough, something came up with her son having issues with like asthma and different things. Sorry, might not be compliant, but, and so I just offered her some stuff to assist him, and was kind of like, here, try these, see if this works. That's what got our cleaning lady too, was those things. And then now she's like, needs the cleaning stuff part. But again, I had made that judgment where I'm like, oh, well, if she really wanted it, she would have asked me about it. Like, yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, how silly is that, right? We're supposed to be doing the business and recommending things, but at the same time, like, if we put it in their hands to ask us about it, that's not really good. So, okay, anything else you would like to add? We have covered all 9 of your points again, and kind of run through those at greater detail. Is there anyone who has any more questions, wants to take themselves off mute? I did scroll through the chat once again, and I believe we covered everything that's in the chat. So if nobody has anything else for Heather, we'll go ahead and sign off for the night. And obviously thank Heather hugely for doing this for us. Hopefully everybody was able to get a few little nuggets from her. Like she said, this is how she does her business. She's not promising it's going to work for others. But the truth is, in this business, this is how we learn stuff. This is how we grow and develop. And this is when we try new things. Like, hey, something worked for, Heather, maybe it'll work for me too. Or maybe it'll just give me enough of that mindset shift to, put the effort in and give it my all again and, dedicate myself fully or whatever is needed from you guys. So thank you again, Heather. We appreciate it. Thank you for pouring into the team and Crossline and everybody. And any other questions, you guys?
Thanks for having me, guys. I was a nervous wreck, but it went really good.
You did great. You did. Seriously, I'm very impressed, actually. Knowing how nervous you were, which this just proves, you guys, she does Facebook Lives every single day and yet was a nervous wreck that this was going to be a Zoom for the team. Like, she was a nervous wreck, and yet technically Facebook Live goes to everybody.
You asked me, you're like, you want to do a Facebook Live or do you want to do a Zoom call? And I was on the phone with my mom one day and I'm like, well, I'm really comfortable with Facebook Lives, but I mean, this is way more personal.
No, I'm glad that we decided to do this because, again, stepping out of your comfort zone a little bit. And so,
yes.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you everybody else who made the choice to be here to listen to her live. And I will cross every finger possible that this recording actually went through on some device. So we will talk to you all soon. Please finish out the month amazing. We have some great stuff coming in June. So yes. Okay, we'll talk to you all soon. Have a good night.
See ya.